The doorbell rang at exactly 7:43 p.m. on a Tuesday. I remember because I was mid-sentence, grading sophomore essays with my red pen still bleeding on the page. I thought it might be another Amazon box. Monica was on a first-name basis with half the UPS fleet by now, but instead, I opened the door and met someone who would quietly unravel the rest of my life. "Mr. Keller?" the young man asked, awkward and nervous. Lanky, dark hair, maybe 18, maybe 20, but it was the eyes that gave me pause. Those eyes had been in my mirror once. "That's me," I said, and he reached out his hand. "My name is Eli Brenner. I'm your son. Now, I've taught high school physics for 2 decades. I've heard every excuse, every made-up equation, every story of why the homework somehow ended up in a washing machine. My face doesn't flinch for much anymore. But this one broke through my poker face like a freight train. "My what?" He didn't stutter. "I'm your son. My mom was Jessica Brenner. University of Michigan. Sophomore year, 2007. And suddenly it hit me like a sucker punch. Jessica. A summer fling, 3 weeks and gone. She vanished before June ended, and I transferred out by fall. I never got a call. No letters. Nothing. She tried to tell you," Eli added. "You'd already left campus." Behind me, the sound of Monica chopping vegetables stopped. The rhythm of her knife had been steady, cold, mechanical, like she was slicing through not just carrots, but also the very idea of our quiet Midwestern life. She appeared at my shoulder, drying her hands with a dish towel. "Who's this?" she asked, scanning the stranger on our doorstep. "This is Eli," I said cautiously. "He says he's my son." The towel hit the floor. That's when the storm began. Monica didn't scream. She didn't cry, either. Instead, she pivoted into what I now refer to as lawyer mode, cold, composed, and about as forgiving as a courtroom stenographer. "Pack a bag," she said, voice low and lethal. "You have 30 minutes. "Monica, I didn't know," I said, standing there with my hands up like the truth needed a witness. "She never told me. I didn't lie to you. Don't insult my intelligence." Her voice cracked just slightly, not from sadness, but fury held too tightly. "You've got a grown man calling you dad on our porch. A child you fathered while we were married? I don't care if it was ignorance or amnesia. It's betrayal either way." I tried logic. I tried compassion. I even tried silence. None of them worked. 30 minutes later, I was sitting in my car across the street from the Holiday Inn Express on Maple, staring at room 214, which Eli had said was his. I didn't go in. I didn't text him. I didn't trust myself not to turn the conversation into a therapy session I wasn't qualified to lead. Instead, I checked into my own room down the hall. The front desk lady smiled like it was just another Tuesday. Gave me a room key and a coupon for scrambled eggs I wouldn't be around to eat. Once I got inside the room, I sat on the edge of the bed. It smelled like lemon cleaner and other people's secrets. I turned off the sitcom on the TV. Too much laughter in a life that suddenly didn't have any. At 10:17 p.m., I got a text from Monica. Just 5 words. "Please don't come back." That was it. Not a question. Not a door. Just a wall. I read it 3 times. My wedding ring felt heavier than usual. Not because it was metal, but because it suddenly had historical weight. A relic from a marriage that might have just gone extinct. And here's where it gets stranger. I opened the nightstand drawer. That little motel Bible was still there. Clean spine. Untouched. Like me. I didn't cry. I didn't pray. I just sat there in the flickering lamplight, suddenly very aware that I was a 47-year-old man sleeping in a room designed for business travelers and missed connections. And somewhere in the hallway, 30 feet away, was a kid who claimed I was his father. The next morning, I knocked on room 214. Light tap. Nothing dramatic. Eli answered wearing the same hoodie from last night. He looked tired, the kind of tired you don't sleep off. I didn't waste time. "Do you really believe I knew nothing?" I asked. He didn't flinch. "I don't know, but I wanted to find you anyway." We sat by the window, coffee between us, silence filling the gaps where small talk didn't belong. Then he handed me a folded piece of paper, a photocopy of his birth certificate. Father, unknown. Below that, a photo. College me, in a university hoodie, arm around a girl with wild dark curls, and the same smile I now saw on Eli's face. "Jessica kept that photo her whole life," he said. "She tried mailing it to you once, but it came back returned to sender. We agreed on a DNA test. Neutral ground. No drama. Just science. Finally useful for something other than grading other people's kids. When I got back to the motel, I had 3 missed calls from Monica and 1 voicemail I didn't open. Not out of spite, just fatigue. Emotional messages from someone who tells you not to come home? They don't usually end with hugs and forgiveness. That evening, I texted Monica. Taking a test. I want facts, not fights. Her reply came 10 minutes later. Don't pretend this is noble. It's cleanup. Cleanup. Like I was a spill she was stuck wiping off the floor. But what haunted me most wasn't her anger. It was what I found while packing up my things at home a few days later. I'd come back when she was out, just to grab some clothes. I left my key on the counter like a man giving up a lease. But in the corner of our bedroom closet, tucked in a box labeled Christmas stuff, I found a USB drive. Curiosity, they say, killed the cat. In my case, it just killed the rest of my innocence. Photos. Dozens of them. Monica, smiling, laughing, with a man I didn't recognize. First in a group, then just the 2 of them. Dinner, hikes, a beach trip I never took. All time-stamped during weekends she said she was visiting her sister. The captions were the worst part, the ones she'd uploaded to some hidden cloud album. With him, I feel real. I laugh more when I'm not home. I stared at the screen like it would offer an explanation. But pixels don't lie. They just sit there and let you draw your own conclusions. And suddenly, the sun on my doorstep wasn't the surprise anymore. It was the woman I shared a mortgage with. They say when the truth hits, it doesn't knock. It just walks in, kicks its shoes off, and settles into your life like it owns the place. I stared at those photos on Monica's hidden USB drive for 10 minutes straight. Not because I was shocked. No, that stage had passed somewhere between finding out I had a son and being evicted from my own life with the words, "Please don't come back." It was the familiarity that stunned me. The guy? Clean-shaven, square jaw, polo shirt tucked into his jeans like he'd memorized a lifestyle catalog. He wasn't young, either. Around my age. Looked like the kind of guy who uses networking as a verb and calls his dog a wingman. They weren't kissing in the photos. But intimacy doesn't need a kiss to announce itself. There was a photo of them on a picnic blanket. One where she was laughing at something off camera, her hand on his knee like it belonged there. And the caption? Finally remembered how it feels to be wanted. Monica had never been the type to document anything. Not her meals, not our anniversaries, not even our vacations. Yet here she was, archiving her infidelity like it was a scrapbook for a better life. I closed the folder. Didn't copy it. Didn't text her. Didn't throw anything. I just stood there, inside the house I paid for, breathing in the scent of betrayal and lemon furniture polish. It wasn't rage that filled me. Not even heartbreak. It was logistics. It was, how long has this been going on? It was, who else knows? It was, what does she think she's getting away with? And then, the cruelest question of all, why didn't I see it? I grabbed the last of my clothes and walked out without looking back. At the motel that night, Eli called. He sounded cautious, like a kid who thought he might be interrupting something sacred. Which, in a way, he was. I was knee-deep in self-pity and stale vending machine pretzels. I just wanted to say thanks, he said, for agreeing to the test. Sure, I replied. Truth's kind of in fashion right now. He paused. How's your wife taking all this? I almost laughed. She's not my wife right now. More like a prosecuting attorney with excellent posture. He didn't push. Smart kid. We talked a little longer, about Jessica, his mom, about his college plans, about nothing at all. And then he said something that sat with me longer than the silence that followed. She always said I looked like you. Guess we'll know for sure soon. He hung up, and I just sat there, staring at the dark window. My reflection looked back like a man rehearsing how to lose with dignity. The next day, I went to my lawyer. Not because I was planning to divorce Monica. Not yet. No, this was a reconnaissance mission. Start drafting a post-nuptial? I told him. I want clauses. Infidelity clauses? Yeah. And asset protection. If this ship sinks, I'm not going down without the lifeboat I bought. He nodded slowly, hands steepled. You think she's cheating? I don't think, I said. I know. And soon, she will too. Because that night, I went back to the house. Not to talk. To install a program. You see, I might be a high school teacher now, but I used to be in IT. And some skills don't rust. They just wait patiently in your back pocket. I mirrored her laptop. Synced her cloud. Left a silent app on her phone that would forward every new message and photo to a private server. And then I left. Clean. Cold. Unapologetic. By the time I got back to the motel, the first batch of messages had already rolled in. And let me tell you, wow. Apparently his name was Eric. Divorced. Real estate developer. He called her Mon, something I hadn't done since year 4 of our marriage. She'd always said she hated nicknames. Guess they just needed to come from the right mouth. Their messages weren't graphic. Not physically, but emotionally. They were nuclear. He's sweet but dull. Everything in our life feels rehearsed. You make me feel seen again. Sometimes I forget what I used to laugh at before you. Each line landed like a quiet betrayal, the kind that doesn't need exclamation points or lipstick stains. Just honesty wrapped in treason. But I didn't get angry. No, I got precise. I didn't reply to Monica's messages that week. She sent a few. Most were polite, distant, like she was waiting to see if the test would come back with a different ending. A reset button. She had no idea I knew about Eric. No idea I had proof. No idea I had already bought a second phone number and was using it to talk to a private investigator. Not because I wanted to catch her. Because I already had. Now I just needed to decide what kind of ending this story would get. Burn it all down? Or smile politely and pull the rug from beneath her in silence? At that point, I wasn't sure. But I knew one thing. This wasn't about whether she loved me anymore. This was about making sure she never underestimated me again. A funny thing happens when you stop reacting. People get nervous. They start looking over their shoulders, questioning their timing, rereading their own lies like maybe, just maybe, they were too honest by accident. That's where Monica was now. I could feel it. She'd gone from cold fury to cautious texts, polite, measured things like, just checking in. Let me know if you're okay. Or, I didn't want things to happen this way. She was playing it safe. That's how you act when you think someone might have something on you, but you're not quite sure what. Like trying to walk across a frozen lake and hoping it's thick enough to hold the weight of your secrets. Meanwhile, I was watching everything. Thanks to the phone mirroring software, I had a front row seat to the real Monica, the one who texted Eric things like, I feel like I'm breathing again when I'm with you. And he's not even angry. It's like he's giving up. That last one stuck with me. Giving up? No, sweetheart. I wasn't giving up. I was loading the software update. A week later, the DNA test came back. Positive. Eli was mine. 99.997% sure. I stared at the document like it was a receipt from a very long dinner I didn't remember ordering. I called him immediately. You're stuck with me, I said. Congratulations. He laughed, the first real one I'd heard from him. You okay with that? He asked. Better than the alternative. There was a pause, and then he said, what happens now? That was a good question. Because now, I wasn't just a husband in a failing marriage. I was a father, with 18 years of missed birthdays, skipped ball games, and unopened Christmas cards I never got to send. And I'll be damned if I was going to let Monica's implosion eclipse the fact that I now had a son, an actual, flesh and blood, witty-as-hell young man who didn't ask for any of this. So I decided to take control. First step? Legal clarity. I had my lawyer send Monica a revised post-nuptial agreement. Nothing dramatic. Just a quiet little document that said, in legalese, if you cheat and I can prove it, you get nothing. Spousal support? 0. Assets? I keep the house. She gets the couch and whatever trust she placed in Eric's empty promises. The best part? She signed it. Didn't even blink. I guess guilt makes people agreeable, especially when they think the other person doesn't have any real proof. But I did. Oh boy, did I. The next step was for Monica to see the new me. So I agreed to meet for coffee. We sat across from each other at a little cafe near downtown. Neutral ground. Public. Predictable. She wore a navy sweater I'd bought her last Christmas. It looked expensive on her, like it belonged to someone else's wife. She smiled when she saw me, hesitant, guarded. How are you? She asked. I shrugged. Calm. She waited, probably expecting me to mention Eli. Or explode. Or beg. But I just sipped my coffee and let the silence make her sweat. Eventually, she broke. I'm sorry for how I reacted. That night. I get it, I said. It was a lot to process. I wasn't fair to you. I nodded. You weren't. That's all I gave her. No soft out. No clean redemption arc. Then I pulled out a piece of paper and slid it across the table. The updated post-nup. What's this? She asked, eyes narrowing. A formality, I said. Just making sure we're on the same page. She glanced at it, then back at me. Are you saying? I'm saying nothing's final. But if it becomes final, I'd like it to be clean. She bit her lip. That nervous tell she always had when she was cornered, but didn't want to admit it. I haven't done anything wrong, she said. I almost laughed. Bold move. I leaned forward. Then signing, this won't be a problem. She didn't respond. Just took the pen from her purse and signed. Checkmate? Not yet. But we were headed there fast. That night, I watched as she texted Eric. He gave me a contract. Like he's some kind of CEO. He knows something. You think he's bluffing? Oh, Monica. No. I wasn't bluffing. I was building a portfolio. By the end of the week, I had 76 screenshots, messages, photos, call logs, calendar invites. I didn't confront her. That's what she would have expected. Instead, I scheduled a dinner. Just the two of us. Her favorite restaurant, linen napkins, dim lights, overpriced steaks. The kind of place people go to save a marriage. She showed up looking stunning. I'll give her that. Hair curled. Red lipstick. Wearing the dress she used to reserve for anniversaries. She was expecting romance. What she got was a flash drive. I'm not here to argue, I said, sliding it across the table. Just thought you'd want to know how much I know. She blinked. What is this? Evidence, I said. From the man who's too boring to notice. Her face turned pale. The lipstick stood out even more now, like it was painted on someone pretending to be alive. You went through my phone? No, I said. I monitored it. With your permission. You just didn't read the fine print when you clicked allow access that day I helped fix your email. You had no right. And you had no right either. But here we are. She looked like she wanted to throw the wine at my face. But we were in public. And Monica cared about appearances more than apologies. You planning to use it? Not yet. And then I stood up. Napkin on the table. Calm. Unbothered. Enjoy dinner, I said. I've already eaten. I left Monica at the table, her wine untouched, her mouth slightly open, like she'd forgotten which story she was supposed to be telling. That's what happens when you corner a liar without yelling. They lose their rhythm. They've rehearsed the tantrums, the blame games, that you're just insecure monologues. But calm? Calm is uncharted territory. I didn't slam the door on the way out. I didn't text her later. I didn't answer the inevitable call. And sure enough, it came. 11:43 p.m. missed call. Then another at 12:01 a.m. Finally, a voicemail. I don't know what you think you saw, but this isn't the way to handle it. She still believed this was salvageable. Still thought I might crack if she turned the dial to emotionally vague but vaguely emotional. What she didn't know, or didn't want to believe, was that I had already moved past anger. I was done playing defense. I was now in the long game. The next morning, I went to the bank. Moved half our joint account into a private one under my name. Perfectly legal, since we were still married and I had every right to protect my contested assets. I didn't drain it. Just enough to ensure that if she tried to run, she'd feel the weight of her empty purse. Then I met with the real estate agent. Our house? The one she spent the last 5 years redesigning like it was some kind of suburban cathedral? I listed it. Monica loved control, but she loved appearances even more. I knew she wouldn't dare raise hell in public, not yet. And that was the key. I didn't need her to fall. I just needed her to sweat. And the sweat was coming. Meanwhile, Eli and I met for dinner. He was nervous, still adjusting to the reality of being someone's son and not just someone's question mark. I let him talk. Told him stories about college, about his mom, about the version of me before mortgages and broken vows. Halfway through his second burger, he asked the question that had clearly been weighing on him. So, are you and your wife gonna fix things? I looked at him, then down at my glass of water. No, I said. We're not broken in a way that can be fixed. Some things aren't cracks, they're exits. He nodded slowly. She cheated. Emotionally, definitely. Physically, the jury's out, but I'm not waiting for a confession. I've already seen the prequel. Eli didn't press. He just sat with it. That's what I appreciated most about him. No theatrics, no judgment. Just presence. He hadn't even known me a month, and already he understood me better than Monica had in the last 5 years. That realization stung. Not because it was sad, because it was true. Later that week, I returned to the house during one of Monica's Pilates and wine nights. I knew she'd be gone for hours. The routine was as dependable as it was cliché. Every Thursday, 6 to 9 p.m., she'd stretch and sip, with her yoga mat and her excuses. So I walked in like I still lived there, because technically, I did. I moved through the rooms with purpose. Bedroom, office, kitchen, each one stripped of something subtle. Not valuables, not electronics, just me. The framed photo from our honeymoon in Maui? Gone. My cufflinks in the dresser? Gone. That old hoodie she used to steal from the laundry basket and pretend not to love? Gone. By the time I was done, the house still looked lived in, but only by one person. Herself. I left the ring box on the kitchen table. Empty. Like us. That weekend, I got a message from Eric. Yes, that Eric. Apparently, he didn't like being caught in someone else's drama. She told me you were separated. I didn't sign up for this kind of mess. Just thought you should know I'm done. Oh, Monica. Even your affair couldn't stay faithful. Turns out, when you lie to two people at once, eventually one of them has to meet the truth. And Eric? He didn't like truths that complicated his dating profile. So he bailed. Blocked her on everything. Moved on. How do I know? Because Monica called me 2 days later. Voice shaking. Tone softer. Vulnerability turned up like a spotlight. I just wanted to talk. Things have been confusing. I think I made a mistake. I didn't say much. Just listened. She filled the silence with vague reflections, allusions to working on herself, and half apologies without punctuation. Finally, she said, maybe we could go to counseling. I paused, then answered with the same expressionless tone she used when she first kicked me out. No. That one word landed like a gavel. Not angry. Just final. Why? She whispered. I smiled. Not because I enjoyed it, but because it was time she saw the same mirror she smashed. Because counseling is for people who want to rebuild something. You burned it. 3 days later, she came home to a for sale sign on the front lawn. White. Clean. Professional. Just like the marriage had been from the outside. She called me 5 times in a row. I didn't answer. Then she texted, "What are you doing?" I replied with the truth. "Packing the life you left behind." She never responded. I didn't hear from Monica for 3 days after the for sale sign went up. And when she finally called, her tone had changed. No more pleading. This time, it was damage control. People are asking questions. There it was. Not "I miss you." Not "Can we talk?" Just "How does this look?" "I'm sure you'll come up with a great version," I said. "You've had plenty of practice." Silence. Then, "You're not being fair." Fair left the building when you started building a second life with someone who wore boat shoes indoors. I could hear her exhale. That frustrated little sigh she used to save for waiters who brought the wrong salad. Now, it was directed at me. "You're blowing up our life," she snapped. "No, Monica," I said calmly. "I'm just reclaiming the one you sold off for compliments and cocktail photos." Click. Saturday came. Our house was cleaned, staged, and full of strangers wandering through like vultures shopping for someone else's fallout. Monica refused to be there. Said she couldn't emotionally process it yet. I, however, stood in the kitchen, neutral smile, cup of black coffee, and a stack of business cards in my jacket pocket that simply read, Adam Keller, physics teacher, part-time philosopher, full-time ex-husband. Okay, maybe I was having a little fun. One couple complimented the lighting in the master bathroom. I thanked them and mentioned that it was perfect for removing wedding rings under dramatic tension. The agent gave me a look. I shrugged. If you're going to sell your former life, might as well give people a tour with flair. By the end of the day, we had 4 offers. The highest one came from a woman who smiled warmly and said, "I can tell this house has stories." "Oh," I said. "You have no idea." I mailed Monica the final packet. Legal paperwork. Everything. Inside the manila envelope was the postnup she'd signed. The screenshots. A letter, short, clean, signed in pen. "Monica, you once asked me why I didn't yell. It's because yelling is what people do when they still believe the other person is listening. I stopped yelling the day I realized you were never coming back. This isn't revenge. It's acknowledgement. You broke something and expected it to heal because I didn't scream. But some things don't bleed. They just never grow back. I wish you the kind of happiness you had to lie to get. Adam." I included the flash drive too. Taped to the back. No threats. No terms. Just receipts. In case she ever wanted to remember how the truth sounded in her own voice. 2 weeks later, the house sold. I watched the movers pack up Monica's furniture. The couch we bought together. The mirror she used to practice her smiles in. The bed frame that had more stories than either of us wanted to admit. She showed up just as the moving truck pulled away. She looked tired. Not broken. Just worn thin from trying to keep control of something already out of her hands. "Why did you do all this?" she asked. I tilted my head. "You mean leave quietly?" Or finish loudly? Her lip trembled. Both. I looked her in the eye. And for the first time in months, I saw her really see me. Not the version she pitted, not the one she planned around. Me. I didn't leave to hurt you, I said. I left because you forgot I could. She opened her mouth. Nothing came out. So I handed her the spare house key, now obsolete, and stepped into my car. As I pulled away, I didn't look back. Not because I was being dramatic, because I'd already seen everything I needed to see. The woman who thought I'd stay no matter what. She finally met the version of me who didn't. Epilogue. I now live in a condo near campus. Eli visits often. We've got a good thing going, not perfect, but real. Every now and then, I see Monica's name pop up in some email thread about taxes or address forwarding. I don't respond. She doesn't follow up. And that silence? That silence is everything she thought I was too weak to deliver. Turns out, I didn't need to scream to be unforgettable. I just needed to leave right.